What do hit shows such as Shameless, America's Funniest Videos, and Nashville all have in common? Music placement executive Beth Wernick, founder of Imaginary Friends Music Partners. We discuss the cardinal rules you need to follow before submitting your music, and what specific factors you should be aware of when preparing your songs for submission into film and television, and much, much more. Coming up.
This episode of the MUBUTV Insider video series is brought to you by the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 30 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Guide, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
We managed to catch up with Beth Wernick from Imaginary Friends Music. Beth, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Rich. Good to see you.
Great to see you as well. Beth, one of the things I always like to ask my guests when we start an interview is, do you remember a time in your life when you made a decision that music or the entertainment industry was going to be your professional path?
Rich, I can tell you, I don't remember a time when it wasn't. I was very, very young. My father and mother did musicals. They were both wonderful singers. I'd sit in the audience and I just knew that was it. They got me singing and dancing very young. I was a theater major. I moved to New York and my cousin was working for Warner Brothers Records and everybody said, "So what do you want to do?" And I didn't want to act anymore. And my cousin introduced me to Jan Hodenfeld, who was the music editor and entertainment writer for the New York Post, and he became my mentor. And I fell in love with the music business. I just fell head over heels in love with it. When the trades came out on Mondays, I couldn't wait to open them up and see where the bullets were. And eventually I got a job as an assistant in a PR firm that worked with not just music, but also musicals and actors and Ringling Brothers. And eventually I worked for Don King for a while. And then I got taken to a PR firm by somebody who worked with music. And the next thing I know, I got promoted. And I was working with some of the biggest bands in the world. And I was like 23, 24 years old. And it was incredible. I worked with Tom Petty's first album, Heart's first album. I worked on Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. I worked with Tanya Tucker, Ambrosia. I mean, all the wonderful bands of that era. I was very, very blessed to get to work with and learned so much about the music industry that way. So it's just something I fell in love with very young. Always knew I would do.
You stayed in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you moved to California, you formed Imaginary Friends Music, and it's a one-stop shop for songs.
Right.
I'm curious, can you talk about the inspiration for forming that company? And because that's a very specific...
It is very specific. What happened was I had stopped writing music. I had written music for some time, even while I was a publicist in New York. And I had stopped for a long period of time. And then I got back into writing again. And someone gave a song I'd written with Donna Rollins to the associate producer on the TV show Melrose Place. And the next thing you know, they told us they were going to use it on the show. And we actually thought we were being punked. We didn't think it was really going to happen. And then it did. And we got a check and everything was so exciting. And Donna was in a band with Stacey Robin. And the band was called Imaginary Friends. And Stacey said, well, why don't we form a company and pitch all our songs? And we'll call it Imaginary Friends Music Partners. And we'll do that. And I thought, that sounds great. That sounds like fun. And then I realized the former publicist was going to be the person on the phone. And it took off from there. We had a 14-song female singer-songwriter demo. We got 3 placements right away from the wonderful music supervisor, Greg Sill. He started us, and the rest is history. It's just grown and grown and grown. And in January, we'll start our 15th year.
Wow. Now, in those 15 years, you must have seen a lot of changes in terms of the role of not only film and TV and music, but the role of the music publisher themselves. Now that you
Yes.
have, a much larger catalog, can you talk to those changes?
There have been so many. Well, first off, there's the trends in music that change. So what was very popular when we first started, Dawson's Creek, Melrose Place, 90210, Seventh Heaven, all those shows used singer-songwriter. Not as popular a genre now at all, except that singer-songwriter has changed in what it sounds like. So the problem is that you have to keep current at all times. You have to know what the trends are, who the artists are that music supervisors looking for. Some of the biggest changes I would have to say is that the licenses became smaller and smaller over the years. I'm sure people have told you that. And finding that you have to have a lot of volume to keep running, as opposed to you could do a song and they paid $8,000 a side or $5,000 a side and it was wonderful. It doesn't happen as much anymore. It still does, but not like it used to.
So the volume has gone way down in terms of those fees.
The fees have gotten smaller, but the volume of music I'm licensing has increased dramatically. It's the only way it can, to keep running. You have to have more and more and more music out there.
One of the things that I've heard about music placement in terms of what you do, by a top music supervisor who said that to her, one of the most cardinal rules of the submission business is never, ever. She was talking primarily to writers and to composers who want to get songs into film and television.
Mm-hmm.
She said, it's a cardinal rule for me, and she's one of the top, never, ever, ever submit music to a television show that you don't watch.
You have to do your homework. And it is so much easier to do that homework now than it's ever been. If you don't go online and realize that the ABC shows or whatever shows that, are airing can be watched on Hulu or YouTube or whatever to listen to the music. And if you don't, okay, so you can't sit through episode after episode, go to TuneFind. TuneFind will list as, I don't know, they don't have every show and every episode and every song, but they do have a lot there. It is your job as an artist, if you want to have film and TV placements, commercial placements, you have to know what the show's about, what kind of music they use. You want a music supervisor, at least I do. I want a music super to say, you send me exactly what I ask for. You send me exactly what I need. There are people who, when they want me to hear their music, they'll send me anything because they just so desperately want to get a placement, but it's not music that I need. And that wastes my time. The one thing I never want to do is waste the time of a music supervisor. If mine is precious, I can only imagine what theirs is.
Precisely. Talk about one of the things, in listening to you talk about the presentation of music and the time element, you just sort of reminded me of what can you give the artists, the producers, the songwriters out there in terms of how to prepare their music properly for submission? What are some of the things that really help?
I require that everything is master quality, as if you were going to release that album today or that song today. It has to be the best production values.
Okay.
I like live instruments. I know a lot of people like drum loops. They kind of catch my ear and I don't like them. They sound artificial to me. I like things to be real. I like great mixes. I will send a mix back 3 or 4 times, even more, to an artist until I hear exactly what I want to hear. It's also important to be current or know that what they're asking for isn't current. We get asked for retro music from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s all the time. If you're going to do that, then it should sound like that period as clearly the minute the music starts. We have to know where it's from. But in a lot of shows, everything is very current. They want the current artist's sound. So you have to know who they are and not just do your homework to watch the shows, but know who those artists are and what you can do to not copy them, but to give a reasonable performance that could be in that genre, in that ballpark.
Okay. One of the other things I've heard, and I'm curious if this is true, always have a instrumental version of your song when you submit a song for film or television, especially if it gets picked up.
Well, look, if you've gone into a studio and had somebody do this for you, you own your masters. These are your recordings. Take them home with you. You need your stems. You need your WAV or AIFF files. You need your instrumental MP3s. You need them all. You need any MP3 you have burned at 320 because that's going to be the highest quality that you've got. I require of all my artists that they have both the vocal and instrumental waves and the instrumental MP3. Have to have it.
Okay.
I never know what a music supervisor is going to ask me for.
Okay. Your particular company is an interesting one, and I want to ask you a business question on that. You are a one-stop shop.
Yes.
Imaginary Friends is a one-stop shop.
Yes.
Meaning that, you come to you for music.
That is pre-cleared.
And it's pre-cleared, and it's a one-stop shop, sync and master.
Yes.
Do you feel that for artists, songwriters, and people getting involved in the business today, that is an essential element if they want to get into the pitching world?
I think it helps.
Yeah.
It has to help enormously. If you control your mastering, you control your publishing, it's easier for us to get you out there. And, when I get a license and it says, how much of this do you control? They would prefer that we don't have any issues. The minute that song is placed, they don't want to hear that, oh, well, you know what, we can't get a hold of the publisher, or they're not going to clear it. Or, for me, it's essential.
Okay. So music that comes to you has to be 100% cleared and okay.
Except in the case of a cover. If a music supervisor requests covers for me, then it's their job to do the clearance on that. That's fine. But on original music, it's essential that it be one stop.
Let me ask you about the marketplace today. You've worked with music supervisors a lot. And what has been the biggest change in your world over the last 10 years as far as submitting music or just the marketplace? Is it an increase in volume, or is it an increase in competition, or is it of a wider variety of shows? What is it that you see?
It's many things. The game is pretty much still the same, but some music supervisors stop being music supervisors. New ones show up all the time. How do you meet them? How do you get to them? How do you get them to understand that you're a source that they really want to come to? The relationships that you have can go on for years and years, or somebody just finds something else to do. And you have to be on top of who the supers are. And look, you can't work with everybody. Not everybody. They have so much music. There is a glutted market now because people can have home studios now, and any Yahoo with a computer thinks they can write a song. And so you have to have really quality material when you are submitting, and you have to know what they're looking for. And you have to, I think, in my case, because I'm a former publicist, I have a great understanding of other people's time, and I don't pester people. I don't call them all day long. I don't bug them every day. I don't email them 3 times a week. What's going on? Tell me. I keep it so that they know I'm not a pest, so that when they hear from me, they're happy to hear from me. And a lot of them just send me blasts, and I understand what they need from that, and I don't need to contact them again. I know that they're going to tell me when they need something. Others may have forgotten I'm around. Then I remind them, But I do it in a gentle way, and I don't say, how come you guys don't use my music and I never hear from you? You can't work that way. They get far too many people who annoy them for me to be one of them.
Okay. As far as Imaginary Friends, in terms of your company, do you find that there's any opportunities for what you do in terms of placement for films or for television shows outside the U.S.?
Not too many.
Okay.
I have not had a lot of that. No, I can't say that.
Okay.
But with anything, you start to grow. I'm working a lot in Canada right now. I have a lot of music supervisors there that I work with on a regular basis. So you just never know where it will go. I'd like to work more with England and in Europe. It just depends on the project.
When you were getting into this business, or, when you were an adult, were there any specific books that you can refer to, or movies that you saw or remembered that were particularly inspiring to you professionally speaking?
I can't specifically say. I could tell you that I was a kid that loved music.
Uh-huh.
I was on a teen dance show when I was very young. We lied about our age to get on it. And I got to meet Paul Revere and the Raiders and other bands that were so huge at that time. And I think I just fell in love. And it's just always been a part of my life. And there isn't a day that goes by that I'm not listening to music. So I think it's second nature for me. I can't say there's one specific moment that said, you're always going to work in music. I tried to leave it once and it pulled me right back. So,
Like The Godfather, right?
Well, truthfully, they pulled me right. It was the Marlon Brando movie. What was it? On the Waterfront, that line's from, right? But the truth is, I stopped music for about 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And then I got a phone call. I was moving to California just to move to California. And I got a phone call one day from a woman who'd gone, this is a true story, gone to an AA meeting, overheard a woman saying that her friend Beth was moving from Texas. And she said, "Are you talking about Beth Wernick?" And she went, "Yeah, Beth?" She goes, "Tell her to call me. I've got a door with her name on it." And I went to work as a publicist for Rhino Records the minute I drove into town.
How wonderful.
And it got around. that I was in town, and people who'd known me from my New York years working, with Fleetwood Mac and all the other bands. And suddenly the whole world of music came back again. And I went, I wasn't even going to do this, but there it was. So I know it's just meant to be. It was just meant to be. And it's something I have an enormous passion for. And I have the greatest respect for people who want to do this because I know it's their heart and soul.
Some really great insights from Beth, especially for all of you considering opening up your own independent music placement company. So, insiders, question of the day. From this video, what were the most valuable takeaways to you from our conversation with Beth? Was it the specific factors you need to be aware of when preparing to submit your songs to film or television? Or was it the cardinal rules that you need to follow before submitting your music for placement consideration? Or maybe it was something else that stood out to you. If you have any ideas or experiences that you'd like to share regarding this video, we'd love to hear from you and connect in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe to MUBUTV for more information on how to educate, empower, and engage your music career. You can also check out a summary of this episode and everything we talked about in the YouTube description as well. And if you enjoyed this video, we'd really love it if you hit the like button and let us know what other kinds of videos and types of content you want to see on our channel. Hit us up in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.